Belfast's second night of unrest reveals a much bigger crisis than a single stabbing. The violence has not stopped. Why Belfast's disorder is becoming a test of Northern Ireland's stability. The latest disturbances centred around Newtownabbey, north of Belfast, where police deployed water cannon after crowds gathered. Vehicles were set alight and projectiles were thrown at officers. Authorities moved aggressively after concerns emerged that groups intended to target accommodation believed to be housing migrants. While the scale of the disorder appeared smaller than the previous night, the fact that violence continued at all is significant. Northern Ireland's political leadership had already issued unusually broad condemnations, with ministers, party leaders and the UK government all urging people not to take the law into their own hands. The official message has been consistent: the stabbing is now a criminal investigation and should proceed through the courts. Yet the persistence of unrest suggests that many protesters believe the incident has become symbolic of wider concerns extending far beyond the alleged attack itself. The stabbing remains at the centre of everything. At the heart of the crisis is the attack on Stephen Ogilvie, who remains in hospital after suffering severe injuries. A suspect has been charged with attempted murder and related offences, and court proceedings are now underway. The emotional impact of the attack cannot be separated from the public response. Graphic details and footage circulating online have intensified anger, turning what would already have been a major criminal case into a highly charged public issue. Yet perhaps the most striking intervention came from Ogilvie's own family. Rather than encouraging retaliation, they publicly urged people not to engage in violence against innocent individuals. They expressed gratitude to those who helped save his life and stressed that peaceful protest is fundamentally different from attacks on unrelated people. That appeal creates a sharp contrast between the victim's family and those using the incident as justification for wider disorder. Immigration has become the real political battleground. The immediate trigger may have been a stabbing, but immigration has quickly become the dominant political issue driving discussion. Questions are now being asked about border controls, asylum systems, migration policy, and how individuals move between different parts of the British Isles. Politicians have already begun debating these issues publicly, while online discussion has expanded far beyond the facts of the criminal case itself. This is where the story becomes much bigger than Belfast. Across much of Europe and the wider Western world, immigration has become one of the defining political fault lines of the age. Public frustration often builds gradually before suddenly erupting after a high-profile incident. Whether justified or not, many voters increasingly interpret individual crimes through the lens of broader migration debates. The danger for governments is that once a public conversation reaches that stage, simply condemning violence does not necessarily address the underlying concerns driving public anger. Social media is accelerating the crisis. One of the defining features of modern unrest is speed. Previous generations might have learned about a major crime through newspapers or evening television broadcasts. Today, footage can spread globally within hours. Commentary, speculation, political arguments, and misinformation can all travel simultaneously. Police have already warned about material circulating online, including posts that allegedly identified addresses and locations linked to migrants. Authorities have stated that such activity risks putting lives in danger and may itself constitute criminal behavior. This creates a difficult challenge for law enforcement. They are no longer simply responding to events on the ground. They are also responding to digital narratives that can evolve faster than official investigations. The result is a feedback loop where online outrage fuels real-world action, which then generates more online outrage. The political system faces a difficult test. Northern Ireland has experienced political crises before, but this moment presents a different challenge. The issue is not constitutional identity, Brexit, or power-sharing negotiations. Instead, it touches on immigration, public safety, integration, policing, and public trust. Political leaders have largely spoken with one voice in condemning the violence. Prime Minister Keir Starmer, ministers in Belfast and other senior figures have all stressed that criminal acts cannot be justified by public anger. The question is whether that message will be enough. Governments can restore order through policing, Restoring confidence is often much harder. If significant numbers of people believe their concerns are not being heard, the risk is that future incidents could generate similar reactions. That is why the coming weeks matter far more than the next few nights. What happens next could define the story. In the short term, the most likely outcome is a continued heavy police presence, further arrests, and a gradual reduction in disorder. Investigators are already using CCTV footage, social media evidence, and public submissions to identify those involved. The criminal case itself will continue through the courts, where evidence rather than public emotion will determine the outcome. The bigger uncertainty lies elsewhere. Will this episode fade as another brief eruption of anger, or will it become a turning point in Northern Ireland's debate over immigration, public security, and political leadership? That answer remains unknown. What is already clear is that Belfast's second night of unrest has exposed tensions that were present long before the stabbing occurred. The violence may eventually stop. The arguments driving it almost certainly will not.